In the dead of night, as the world held its breath and the front lines seemed eerily still, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Suddenly, a single devastating blow landed, shattering the silence and changing the course of the conflict in an instant. This was no ordinary explosion, it was precise, personal, and audacious. The aftermath left no doubt. This was a strike with a message. Ukraine had just carried out one of its boldest attacks yet. Using a HIMARS missile, Ukrainian forces struck deep behind enemy lines, reaching a target thought to be untouchable. Their target, Major General Mikhail Gudkov, a top Russian Navy commander, a man at the very heart of Russia's military operations. In an instant he was gone. The news sent shockwaves from the front lines to Moscow, rippling through the ranks and rattling the Kremlin's confidence. This was not a random casualty, it was a targeted elimination, a decapitation strike. Ukraine had tracked and killed one of Putin's key military leaders, demonstrating a level of intelligence and coordination that stunned observers. The message to the Kremlin was clear: no one is safe, anywhere. Even the most protected figures can be reached. For Russia it was a humiliating loss, for Ukraine a massive morale boost. The psychological impact was immediate and profound. The death of Gudkov is more than a military victory, it's a symbol of Ukrainian defiance and ingenuity. Ukraine has been systematically targeting Russia's senior command since the war began, but this strike was bolder, deeper, and more daring than ever before. It showcased the lethal effectiveness of Western-supplied weapons in determined Ukrainian hands. The world is now watching to see how Putin will respond to this direct and personal blow, and whether Russia's leadership can adapt to this new level of threat. This event marks a new, deadlier chapter in the conflict. The stakes have been raised and the rules of engagement are shifting. For Ukraine, it's proof they can inflict crippling damage, even with the odds stacked against them. It's a rallying cry for their forces and a warning to their adversaries. The strike represents the culmination of a deadly cat-and-mouse game. It was a demonstration of intelligence, precision, and resolve, showing that Ukraine's reach is growing, and its resolve is unbreakable. The war has entered a new phase, one where no Russian leader is untouchable. The balance of fear has shifted, and the world is witnessing a conflict where the unexpected has become the new normal. The lead-up to the strike was a whirlwind of escalation. Tensions in Eastern Europe had reached a boiling point, with both sides bracing for what seemed like an inevitable clash. The world watched as military convoys rolled through the night, signaling that something significant was about to unfold. Putin, determined to regain the initiative, ordered a new offensive. He needed a ruthless commander he could trust, someone capable of delivering results under immense pressure. He chose Major General Gudkov, a recently promoted officer known for his uncompromising style. Gudkov was quickly dispatched to the front lines, his orders clear and urgent. Gudkov was tasked with leading the notorious 155th Naval Infantry Brigade, Russia's supposed elite, renowned for their discipline and ferocity in battle. Their mission was critical: spearhead the assault and break through the heavily fortified Ukrainian lines, paving the way for a larger Russian advance. Gudkov arrived at a forward command post to rally his officers and issue his final orders. The atmosphere was tense, every word carrying the weight of the coming battle. But Ukraine was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Their intelligence network had tracked Gudkov's every move since his promotion, piecing together his plans through intercepted communications and surveillance. The gathering of high-ranking officers at the command post presented a golden opportunity, one that Ukrainian forces could not ignore. The trap was set, coordinates were locked in with precision. Ukrainian forces prepared to unleash a devastating blow. Ukraine's response was swift and deadly. In the dead of night, HIMARS rockets streaked across the sky, targeting the heart of Russian command. The HIMARS missile struck the command post where Gudkov met his deputies. The explosion was catastrophic, obliterating the nerve center of the offensive. Russia's new offensive was thrown into chaos before it even began. Confusion and panic spread among the ranks as the chain of command was shattered. The commander handpicked by Putin was eliminated instantly, along with several of his top aides. The loss was both strategic and symbolic. His final orders would never be carried out. The plans for the offensive lay abandoned, scattered among the ruins. The offensive lost its head before it could even start. Russian troops, left leaderless, hesitated on the battlefield, unsure of their next move. The cost of leadership on the front lines had never been higher. For both sides, the war had become a deadly contest of wits, where a single strike could change the course of history. Who was Major General Mikhail Gudkov? A name that echoes through the corridors of both power and fear. To the Kremlin, he was a hero, an unwavering symbol of Russian military might, but to Ukraine he was known only as the Butcher, a name whispered with dread and anger. A highly decorated officer, Gudkov earned his reputation through his relentless and often brutal command of the infamous 155th Brigade, a unit feared on both sides of the front. In Ukraine, his very name inspired terror. His unit was accused of carrying out some of the most horrific war crimes of the conflict, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Under Gudkov's leadership, the brigade was linked to atrocities that shocked the world, making him a top target for Ukrainian forces and a symbol of the war's darkest moments. Despite devastating losses, Gudkov was repeatedly brought back to lead, specializing in high-casualty warfare and never hesitating to sacrifice his own men for strategic gains. To Moscow, he was a blunt instrument, effective, loyal, and ruthless, no matter the human cost, even among his own ranks. In Russia, Gudkov was celebrated as a patriot and a defender of the homeland. In Ukraine, he was reviled as a war criminal, responsible for untold suffering. His death became a moment of national mourning for some, while for others it was a cause for celebration, a long-awaited act of justice. For Ukraine, eliminating Gudkov was about more than removing a dangerous commander. It was a statement about accountability, and a message that those responsible for atrocities would not escape justice. The two starkly different perceptions of Gudkov highlight the deep, unbridgeable divide that defines this war, and the pain it has inflicted on both nations. His legacy is one of brutality, destruction, and immense suffering, a reminder of the human cost of conflict. In the end, his death became a symbol of retribution, a turning point in the struggle for justice. The man called the Butcher met a fate many in Ukraine believed he deserved, his story now etched into the tragic history of this war. The 155th Naval Infantry Brigade, Gudkov's unit, is infamous for its brutality and catastrophic losses. Once considered elite, it's been decimated and rebuilt repeatedly, thrown into disastrous assaults like Vuhledar. Its soldiers, often poorly trained, have faced near-suicidal missions. The brigade is implicated in war crimes, including atrocities in Bucha and the beheading of a Ukrainian POW. Under Gudkov, this legacy of violence continued. For Ukrainians, the 155th embodied the worst of the Russian invasion. The strike that killed Gudkov was seen as a blow against the heart of that darkness. It was a message. Their crimes would not go unanswered. Gudkov's killing was no lucky shot, it was a masterpiece of modern warfare. The operation began with intelligence gathering. Agents, partisans, and electronic surveillance tracked Gudkov's movements. The key was pinpointing his location at his most vulnerable during a meeting with senior officers. Signals, intelligence, and human sources confirmed the time and place. Ukraine deployed its American-supplied HIMARS, prized for range and precision. The missile, likely a GMLRS rocket, struck the command post with surgical accuracy. Gudkov, his deputy, and at least 20 other officers were killed or wounded. The strike was a complete success, demonstrating Ukraine's ability to penetrate Russia's command network. It proved they could turn high-level intelligence into lethal action within hours. This was a major intelligence victory, leaving the Russian offensive in disarray. The operation showcased the fusion of intelligence, technology, and timing. Ukraine had mastered the art of the decapitation strike. The HIMARS strike plunged the Russian offensive into chaos. The 155th Brigade was left leaderless at the moment of attack. The chain of command shattered. The plan collapsed before it began. Replacing Gudkov and his senior staff was no easy task. Russia scrambled to rebuild its command structure as Ukrainian defenders gained precious time. Morale among Russian troops plummeted. Their new commander was dead before the fight began. The strike sent a chilling message. No Russian officer was safe. Fear and distrust eroded the fighting spirit of the brigade. For Ukraine, the aftermath was a triumph, validating their strategy of targeting high-value individuals. The chaos gave Ukrainian forces a crucial window to reinforce positions. Gudkov's death was not just symbolic, it derailed a major enemy operation. The battlefield had shifted in Ukraine's favor. Gudkov's assassination is part of Ukraine's deliberate strategy decapitation strikes. From the start, Ukraine has hunted high-ranking Russian officers to disrupt command and demoralize troops. The Russian military's rigid, top-down structure makes it especially vulnerable. Killing a general causes chaos. Orders stop, confusion reigns. Ukraine has killed over a dozen Russian generals using snipers, artillery, and precision missiles. Each strike sends a message. No commander is safe, no matter their rank or location. It's psychological warfare, instilling fear in Russian leadership. The Gudkov strike is the pinnacle of this strategy. High profile, flawlessly executed. Ukraine's capabilities are growing more sophisticated and lethal. Russia must now choose, keep commanders safe but ineffective, or risk losing them on the front. The Gudkov strike came as Ukraine's international support shifted. The US under Trump paused a planned arms shipment, citing the need to replenish its own stockpiles. This marked a major change in unwavering American support. The Kremlin welcomed the pause, hoping it would pressure Ukraine to negotiate. In response, Ukraine pivoted to Europe. European military aid now surpasses that of the US President Zelensky, is pushing for more European support and joint defense production. Ukraine must adapt, building self-sufficiency and new alliances. The success of the HIMARS strike highlights the importance of Western technology, but its future supply is uncertain. Ukraine faces a new reality, fighting with a different coalition and racing to secure the tools for survival. Gudkov's death is more than a headline, it's a turning point. It signals a new phase of this brutal war, showcasing Ukraine's growing sophistication and asymmetric advantage. Yet this victory comes as international support wavers. Ukraine must innovate and secure new sources of military hardware, especially from Europe. The coming months will test Ukraine's resilience and its partners' commitment. This is not just a war for territory, it's a fight for survival and the international order. Gudkov's killing underscores the moral dimension, a fight against an aggressor accused of war crimes. For Ukraine, such victories are acts of justice. But one general's death won't end the war. Russia will replace him, and the fighting will continue. Still, the event has exposed a critical Russian vulnerability and validated Ukraine's strategy. It sends a signal to Moscow, its leaders will be held accountable. As the war grinds on, the world watches to see if Ukraine's ingenuity can overcome brute force. The future of Ukraine, and the world, hangs in the balance.